Well, hello to my Flickering Myth family and all you X-Men super fans out there. What a glorious day it is for all of us. My name is EJ, and I am so excited to dive into the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97. For something that I only knew existed like a couple years ago, I have been waiting for X-Men 97 my entire life. I think most millennials will agree with this statement, but things like X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, and that one iconic Spider-Man animated series really shaped a lot of comic book lovers, a lot of superhero fans. I wasn't a kid who had access to comic books, but I had access to Saturday morning cartoons. So things like this were very important, very crucial. X-Men specifically was my jam. So feels like this moment, feels like X-Men 97 is such a thank you to X-Men fans, to people who have been wanting to see these characters brought back to life in the, honestly, the most iconic way. You'll never get Days of Future Past or the Phoenix Saga done as well as it was in that iconic 90s series. Now it is back with a new series for Disney Plus. And how good is it? I think it's pretty goddamn excellent. It's strong. These first 3 episodes really thrust you right back into this world. It feels insanely nostalgic. I mean, they bring back the iconic na 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 theme song. We all know that. We knew it was going to be fan service, nostalgia, but it's a way of doing that while still advancing what we love and, pushing them in a new direction. This to me is a pure definition of what a legacy sequel should be. We are respecting what came before, but we are unafraid to push this in a new direction. The way these X-Men characters have evolved, but also stayed exactly where I wanted them to from the 90s cartoon, it's amazing. There's so much depth to these characters. I think it has, years of knowing these particular versions of the X-Men. It's those years, but it's also the really strong writing, the great voice acting, the animation, which it did take me a moment to get used to. Something about that first episode, I just thought it wasn't as visually striking as I remember in my mind, but then I'm like, God, think of season 5 of X-Men the Animated Series, and the animation's horrible. So I will say we are in a good spot with animation, with voice acting, with storytelling, that it really makes X-Men 97 worth the wait, worth the viewing, and it's truly, if you are a fan of the original X-Men, or if you love the X-Men comics, my goodness, this is exactly what you will want and what you need. So for this review, I will be jumping into the first 3 episodes of X-Men the Animated Series, kind of breaking them off into sections. I don't want to get spoilery, but I want to talk about each episode. I know the first 2 were dropped this evening, and episode 3 is something everyone has to wait for, so episode 3 is going to be my scantest of the rant. Oh my goodness, episode 3, Jean Grey fans, I'm letting y'all know, episode 3 is dedicated to you all. So episode 1 picks us up right where we left off. Xavier is in space trying to get healed. He's not around anymore. So the X-Men are kind of in this weird spot. We're in a weird spot with the politicalness. We have the FOH still there, still dealing with some horrible stuff that they're dealing with, doing to the mutants. But the X-Men are also kind of leaderless, so they have to figure out what the hell they're going to do. This episode really plays a lot like the first season of the series premiere with Jubilee, but we've replaced Jubilee with a new character. And we're just kind of watching everything unfold, introducing characters again, getting used to the mansion, where we were, where we left off, but things like, I forgot Jean Grey's pregnant now. Oh, what are we going to do with that? There's a lot of stuff here in that first episode that we're building towards. By episode 2, we built enough, and it's great. So I really like this first one. It just definitely plays a lot like the series premiere, but just told through a different lens. Now we have Jubilee being like, oh no, I was here, I get you. It's rough. So where are our X-Men at? What are they dealing with? Well, they're still dealing with Sentinel-like powers. They're still dealing with the FOH, which is this group of humans who want to take down the mutants, the Friends of Humans. Whew, it's rough. They're breaking these like kind of organizations that are hurting people. There's almost like a slave trade. It gets a little on the nose with the commentary. It's definitely like, wow, X-Men has still not let up with social commentary, political commentary. We're seeing, these freaks. I think there's a line in episode 2 that really stuck with me. It's like, well, you guys get to have all the victimness and the trauma, but us normal people deal with it too. It's just like, our struggle has nothing to do with your struggle. We could be struggling together, but you're choosing to be a hateful force. So that's where we're learning with this new character getting introduced into the X-Men, into the family. And it's a pretty decent first premiere. I thought it was strong. It put me back where I was, but that ending, when Magneto shows up, and I'm like, first off, the look, the vibe, Magneto. Eric is one of my favorite goddamn characters in all of X-Men-ness. So is, Storm in these first two episodes especially really gets to show her damn Omega level insanity. So good. But yeah, so getting to get where we were. Where we're at the ending is, to me, the real kickoff. Episode 2 for me feels like the season premiere. We set up what we needed in episode 1. It transitioned us from the original animated series to X-Men 97, but by episode 2 with Magneto now kind of replacing Xavier, what does that mean? Where does it go to? Episode 2 really shows us how crazy Magneto in the X-Men could truly be. Like I said, episode 1 establishes a lot. We have like Scott and Jean wanting to leave, Magneto coming in, the Rogue Gambit relationship. What's Wolverine doing? He's still, Jean, but, he's kind of building a friendship with Morph. So by episode 2, we're seeing Eric try to help out the mutants. We're also still seeing him on the DL do some liberation. Jean Grey goes into birth. What is all this happening? And then Eric gets arrested and he gets put on trial, but this trial kind of shifts some things. We're seeing the FOH not like that they're treating the mutants like, normal people and getting their due. They'll have to, find out what's happening in society and let's do the trial and all that. And yeah, they don't like that. So they attack the trial. And this is where we're seeing some insanity. We have a villainous character called the Executioner come and really use the Sentinel-like powers, the mechanics that we've seen from the Sentinel robots into weapons like a blaster that could possibly erase powers. Like I said, spoiler free here, but one of our favorite mutants gets hits with this, and that sends them on a journey where they have to figure out how to get back their powers, something that's touched on at the very end of episode 3. But yes, wow, this episode gets crazy because we're seeing what could happen with Eric in this position. He's still a dominating force with mutant rights, but he's also having to meet in the middle with the humans. And this also works out for their favors, with Jean going into, in labor, with Cyclops having to go run and do all that stuff. Magneto is kind of left in that de facto leadership role that maybe the other X-Men weren't ready for, but he serves it well. I really love Magneto in these first two episodes. Well, first episode and episode 2 especially, or episode 3. Oh, Magneto in episode 3. First off, the outfit he's wearing, I know some people complained about it. It's fashion. You're not ready for Eric having the best outfits ever, but it's great. So yeah, I liked episode 2 for what it really established. Eric now in the X-Men fold, Jean Grey having the baby stuff, and we're also having one of my favorite kind of minor storylines is Gambit's jealousy of Rogue and Magneto's relationship. Rogue and Magneto have a long-standing relationship, so what happens when, Gambit's kind of pushed to the side, possibly? All of that comes to a head in episode 3, where nightmares start coming to life almost. But yeah, episode 2, we're starting to see, we're seeing Beast's amazing skills with having to be the medic here. I love that Beast. I hate what they did with him in season 1 of X-Men the Animated Series, so I'm glad to see him in the first season of X-Men 97, up front, doing the best that Beast can do. Yeah, all of our characters really good episode 2, but by episode 3, the one that I have to be the most quiet about, episode 3 blows my mind. Like I said, if you're a Jean Grey fan, episode 3 is for you. There was a lot discussed here. I'm only going to say one phrase. Diehard X-Men fans will know what I'm talking about, but Goblin Queen. Goblin Queen. That's it. But yes, episode 3 really, again, continues our thrust with putting X-Men 97 into a new stratosphere. We're adapting new stories from the comic books. We're seeing what happens when things start getting crazier. I mean, our main villain, possibly, Mr. Sinister, he's been kind of a looming presence in the first 2 episodes, but Mr. Sinister really shows up in episode 3 and thrust our X-Men into a crazy story. We're having Morph deal with the PTSD of dealing with all of this shit before. It's hard. Morph is a character who I don't think really got a lot of time to shine in the first round, and then in these first 2 episodes, but by 3, I'm starting to see Morph in a new perspective, in a new way, but they have to face this foe that's really twisting up a lot of things. And, Mr. Sinister, and then, like I said, the Goblin Queen, that gets really crazy. I don't want to say what happens in this episode, but we're really seeing where the story can go with the stories that we know. If you're an X-Men fan, they touch on some things here that I really find interesting. And again, our characters are in such an interesting spot here. I'm always kind of going to be waiting for Xavier to return, but I like Magneto in this leadership role because they don't really trust him. There's some kind of the butting of heads. I think Storm says that at one point, you were one of our greatest foes, and now we have to kind of work with you. It's interesting, it's intriguing, it's complex, and it really makes these stories worth viewing because this isn't just a rehash, a reboot of all the stories we knew before. New stories, new adaptations, and episode 3 shows us with the stronger new animation that's on Disney Plus, with our great voice acting and some really strong writing from our writing team. We can really put this to the same level X-Men the Animated Series was. X-Men 97 has that opportunity because episode 3 proves to me that we are in some good hands and we're going to see some wild stuff unfold in this coming season. Thank you all for joining me for this episode. I broke down episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3. I wish I could have gotten into greater details, but Disney sent me a little letter that was just like, please, no spoilers, no plot details, none of that. This is fresh, this is new, so if you guys are wanting to see me break down more episodes, let me know in the comments below. I will give you like nitty-gritty details on each one because I want to watch all of these again. Like, I cannot wait for it to drop this evening so I can watch them on Disney Plus, give them the views because I want this to be viewed, I want this to be loved. X-Men 97 is special, and I have not seen a animated series or a nostalgic legacy sequel that has hit me this hard in quite some time. What did you guys think of X-Men 97? Are you excited for episode 3? If you've happened to see all 3 episodes, don't say any spoilers, but what do you think about the ending of episode 3 and where we're going to put our X-Men in the future? Oh goodness. Alright guys, share your thoughts, share your comments, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, all that jazz, and let's talk about X-Men 97 right down below.